All right, if you talk to somebody who played in the 60s or 70s, they will tell you that the Vanderbilt game was huge. A lot of hate, can't stand Vanderbilt. A lot of George Cafego memories. What about if you talk to somebody who played in the 80s and 90s, somebody who played in the 2000s, somebody who played just last year? By chance, we've got just that. Matter of fact, let's go over to Marlon Wall, Sterling Hinton, and Ollie Lane at our bistro table. We don't have the French music, and they're not wearing berets, but we go to the bistro table. Marlon Walls, take it away.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Hey, listen, I know where I stand as far as Vanderbilt goes and how I feel about them. I want to ask you guys, though, these different eras, how you guys feel about Vanderbilt.
When I played, we always had a conversation with George Cafego every Friday before we played him.
Okay.
And let me tell you, if you ever talk to him, boy, I tell you, a lot of colorful metaphors to describe those daggone Commodores. And that just bled into us. And one of our head managers, Max Parrott, he's got a certain idea how he feels about Vanderbilt. So that bled into our team. So we didn't like him very much, man. We respected him. We didn't like him very much.
Didn't like him.
Didn't like him.
Ollie, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, in scopes of like rivalry as we viewed it, it wasn't number one on the board for us. You know, obviously we respected them to a point because they're an SEC opponent. But I mean, I never looked at them more of just the little brother of Tennessee. They're the little brother in Nashville that we got to go in, beat up every now and then, and win a state championship. But I mean, and that's what I would tie it to just kind of hype it up a little bit for myself. Oh, it's the Tennessee State Championship. This is what we're playing for, I guess, something like that. But I mean, it's never really carried like a lot of weight for me. You know, you always hear the history like, oh, General Nealon was hired just to beat Vanderbilt. And I'm like, man, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's just my history as a childhood growing up watching Vanderbilt. They haven't been anything that's ever like jumped off the page to me, surprising, and being part of Tennessee and seeing how good we've had teams in the past and how good we are. Vanderbilt's never really been able to be there. Yeah, they'll get us a couple years, bite us in the tail every now and then, but it's never like it's been a head-to-head, like, battle for battle rivalry.
Right. Never a war.
I would tell you guys, man, like you said, that little brother deal's for real. Them cats was dirty. We knew they were going to be dirty. We knew they wanted to be where we were, and they just wasn't good enough. And so it was always going to be a dirty football game. And we kind of, I remember the coaches would always tell us that, like, hey, they're going to pull your jersey. They're going to do this. They're going to say this to you. Don't get into it. Let's go win the game. Go to a bowl game and keep them where they're at. So, John, I think it's kind of across the board. Ollie and them was so good, they beat the mess out of them all the time. For us, Sterling beat them that pretty good, but I had them James Franklin years. But Vandy's always that little brother, man. It's a tough fight, and you got to go keep them where they are. So that was always a mindset, it sounded like, at the table. But anyways, back to you, John.
Good deal. I got one more question for Ollie here. It wasn't as big a rivalry for you, but what was I mean, you played just last year. Was there any bad blood last year on the field?
Definitely. I mean, there's always bad blood in these games, but I mean, Vanderbilt still looks at it as a rivalry to us. I mean, that's what they look at it to us, is it's a rivalry game. It is what it is. They're going to come out, play the best they can, be cheap. Like you guys said, they're going to take cheap shots. They're going to hold the jerseys of the wide receivers as they're trying to get open. They're going to play dirty. They're going to try to make all the stops they can to eventually win the game for them, because it's a big game for them. It's a big game for them to screw up the Tennessee football
season.
It's
their Super Bowl, John.
Exactly.
At least.
All right, very good. Couldn't remember if there were any fisticuffs last year or not. All right, when we come back, let's preview that Vanderbilt game. We'll use the VFLs. We'll have everybody back here out here on set. It's time for a little will they or won't they. Come on back.